Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
You buy off the rack because that's the way it's done. Why would you want to have custom golf clubs? Now that's becoming the way it's being done. The biggest difference is that everybody is unique. They come in all different shapes and sizes. They come with all different types of swing dynamics. What's so important is not just the custom fitting with regard to loft, lie, length, weight, shaft flex, but making sure that people are playing golf clubs that are not only appropriate for their abilities, but also commensurate with their goals for the game. Let's just say you're a 15 handicap in the most generic sense of the 15 handicap. If your goal is to be a 10, you shouldn't be out there with a set of Hague Ultradyne blades from 1965. It's a little bit tougher to hit than the new, more forgiving game improvement type golf club.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Our guest today is Dan Sachs. Dan's a great guy who loves golf and has dedicated himself to getting the right clubs into his customers' hands. He's the owner of Bay Area Custom Golf, and since I've lost my clubs, or should I say, since the airlines lost my clubs, I'm also working with Dan to get fitted and find the right clubs for me. Actually, I thought it'd be a really cool idea to record the process of getting fitted and share it with you, but it really isn't the kind of exhibition that Dan nor I am too comfortable with at this point. More about that as we progress, but yesterday he had me fill out a 100-plus question survey that tells him how I feel about the game, how I approach the game, my attitude about competition, the distance I hit each club, the amount of time I practice, how my game is progressing, and more. So what's happening is he's creating a profile of what kind of golfer I am so that he can really make sure that whatever clubs he creates for me will help improve my enjoyment. In one part of the survey, he asked that you rate yourself from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, on the success you have with different clubs and distances. Of course, the mid to high handicappers always think they're better than they are, and the single-digit players feel they need a lot of improvement. Here's a great example. A high handicapper will say that he's a 7 to 8 on short putts, but a low single-digit player will give himself a 2 or 3 because he only makes about 80% from within 3 feet. It's fabulous. Of course, because of the limited time I spend practicing, he's smart enough to remind me that any improvement in my scoring is up to me, not the clubs. Now, we recorded a couple episodes worth of material a few weeks ago before I needed his services, so you may be hearing a lot from Dan in the near future, but I guarantee he's really interesting, well-traveled in the golf world, knowledgeable, and opinionated about his craft, which I love. Welcome to Golf Smarter, Dan.
Thanks so much, Fred, for having me.
Oh, it's actually, I'm really excited about doing this because one of my listeners wrote to me and said, you've got to meet this guy. This guy's incredible. Little did I know that this person was, 16 years old? Daniel?
I think he just turned 16.
And he's hitting the ball well these days.
Yeah.
Last time you and I got together, this is the second time we're getting together in your shop. We'll talk more about your shop and what it looks like. You'll get a tour of your shop here. Tell us about this phenom.
This kid has been working so hard, Fred. It's unbelievable. He's out at the range every day after school. He's out there all weekend long, hitting golf balls, working on his golf swing, working on a short game, and it's paying huge dividends for him. He just shot 33 on the front nine, and he plays at Adobe Creek Golf Course. We'll plug there.
What
for
have you
Adobe
done
Creek.
for his game? I mean, you're not teaching him how to play golf.
No.
He doesn't even have teachers. He just goes out and hits the ball as hard as he can.
He works with a couple of the instructors out there, but not formally. He doesn't really take lessons in a formal sense, but he's out there all the time.
What can a custom club maker do for his game?
When I met him, he was playing with wedges that didn't have enough bounce, and it was causing the club to dig down underneath the ball, so a lot of his better swings were coming up fat, so it sort of created a kind of a lifting, picking motion on his part, which was sort of a death move, and he came to me, and we're talking about golf clubs, talking about wedges, very interested in all the technology that's going on out there. And we found him a set of used Titleist Vokey wedges. And I think they're Vokeys. No, I'm sorry. They were Callaway X-Forged.
All right, we'll hold that against
you. Can edit that down. And just something with a lot more bounce. And I think that helped open up a lot of doors for him around the greens. So in the days when he was missing greens, he was able to get up and down a little bit more easily and not having to worry about whether or not he was going to hit a shot fat. And that was sort of the beginning for Danny.
Should we have multiple wedges in our garage so that when we're going out to play different courses, some wedge will work better than another, and how would we know in advance?
Good question. I think that everybody should have plenty of wedges to choose from, but what's most important is that they are all built the same, to the same lie angles, to the same lofts, so you're not worried about exactly how far you're going to be hitting them because you'll have consistent distances. Same shafts as well, and of course at the same length. But what it gives you the opportunity to do is go to a place where if you know it's going to be very soft, if you're headed to a golf course where it's kind of a seaside course where it's going to be a little bit softer or a little bit juicier rough, you can bring something with a little bit more bounce. And if you're on your way to the desert for a couple of weeks to play golf, you can bring something with a little bit lower bounce. You can kind of work with those tighter lies. So yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of having multiple wedges. It makes a big difference when you're trying to score.
From our last conversation, I gathered that you are not the normal, you don't operate as a normal custom club maker.
There's nothing normal about me, Fred.
That's why I came back. That's why we get along so well. No, but in the sense that your involvement with each of your clients, your patients, if you will, because you're a doctor of club making.
Well, thank you.
But each of your clients, you get intimately involved with their golf game, right?
I try to. That's the goal.
How do you do that?
Well, through conversation. It starts with conversation and it moves on to observation and then back to conversation. And you want to
talk about your observation.
Well, I want to find out as a club fitter, club builder, person who helps golfers get better, I want to find out as much about their golf game and the unique way they approach the game of golf as I possibly can to gain as much insight into each player's idea of how they approach the game of golf. The more insight I get, the better I am at finding the right golf clubs for them to be playing.
And so you are pretty selective about your clientele as well, aren't you?
I've become more selective. What concerns me the most about what I do is what happens after they get the clubs. What are they out there doing with them? Are they going to be practicing, working on the right things, spending time focusing on their weaknesses and accentuating their strengths and making sure that they're prepared for the things that golf can throw at you? So
you will fire clients? I mean, or just say
I wouldn't call it fire, Fred. But
you may tell a client, I don't think this may work out for us. We shouldn't work together.
Well,
you don't want people carrying your clubs if they're not going to be improving on a rapid basis. Is that true?
There's some truth to that. It's important for me to know that the efforts that I'm putting into these people's golf games are being returned with efforts on their part to try to help them improve. My goal for everybody, of course, is that they improve their golf game, and sometimes it's a club issue, sometimes it's a swing issue, and sometimes it's a mental issue. It's just another part of the big equation of how does somebody get better at golf. Fire. I've sent a few guys along that didn't seem like they were really into it. They kind of thought that the clubs were going to be, that's it. Oh, I got a new set of golf clubs and here I go. But it's really about hard work. Yeah. Unfortunately, like so many other things.
And not everyone has that time, or even wants to dedicate themselves to
it. Everybody has time. Everybody can find the time. In the busiest schedules in the world, people that are working 80 hours a week, they can stand in front of a mirror and check their posture every time they pass a mirror.
I want to talk about the myths versus the misinformation about custom club fitting and custom club making. Let's define custom club making first, because we advocate getting fitted for clubs all the time. I mean, even this weekend I played with a couple guys who are off the shelf club purchasers, and it makes if I had any hair on the back of my neck, it would stand up. You know, I mean, it's just like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you get fitted for your clubs?
It's the way it's been done for a very, very long time. And it's important for... This is a tough one.
We can edit anything you want.
Okay, that sounds good.
So I'll make a note here.
Why would you buy off the rack? Well, you buy off the rack because that's the way it's done. Why would you want to have custom golf clubs? Well, now that's becoming the way it's being done. But the biggest difference is that everybody is unique. They come in all different shapes and sizes. They come with all different types of swing dynamics. And what's so important is not just the custom fitting with regard to loft, lie, length, weight, shaft flex, those sorts of things, but making sure that people are playing golf clubs that are not only appropriate for their abilities, but also commensurate with their goals for the game. And I can elaborate on that for sure. And to say
Go ahead.
If you are if you're out there playing golf and let's just say you're a 15 handicap in the most generic sense of the 15 handicap, everybody finds their handicap a little bit differently, that you should be out there playing golf club. If your goal is to be a 10, you should be out there. You shouldn't be out there with a set of Hague Ultradyne blades from 1965. It's a little bit tougher to hit than the new, more forgiving game improvement type golf club. The very deep rabbit hole we're on the edge of all the time is trying to figure out what's going to be the best thing for the player as a custom club fitter. You got to start with the beginning, and what does this person need? I'm not sure if I answered the question.
I want to make sure people understand why it is they need to get fitted for clubs. They don't necessarily have to have custom clubs made.
No, not necessarily.
But actually, we've received a bunch of questions from listeners when I announced that you were going to be interviewed. And you just made a reference, and I want to come to that question because you are referring to one of the questions. And it says, this is from Craig Thompson in Richmond, British Columbia. He said, last year, I wanted to get a set of classic blades as a spare set, and I saw a set of 1974 Hague Ultra heads.
Hague Ultradynes, great golf club.
Okay, and he saw them on eBay and he couldn't resist. They're beautiful, but they have a weird tapered bore through the hosel. I can't find any specs online, but I don't think shafts to fit these heads are manufactured anymore. So, Mr. Sachs, he says, how do you go about shafting rare clubs like these? I was thinking of getting someone to bore out the hosels to fit a 370 parallel shaft. What would work for this?
They're Hague Ultras. We actually got a set here in the shop, and in taking one of them apart, of course, it was the 2-iron. Seemed like the best club to take apart of all. What we found out was the shaft tip diameter on that was actually a 335, which is comparable to most kind of wood shafts. So,
what do you mean when you say 335?
It's 335 thousandths of an inch diameter. So it is what you would call fairly small, since standard irons come with around 355 to 370, or 355 or 370, more to the point. Now, having such a small hosel, it's only going to accommodate that size shaft unless it is indeed bored out. The risk you run into boring out a hosel like that is not only a loss of material and weight, but also you could compromise the hosel. It's possible that the hosel might crack off the head. So it's kind of a dangerous thing to do. But if you've got somebody who's really capable and does the job very slowly and methodically and will take their time to make sure that it's going to be right, probably the easiest thing to do would be to take it to 370. But I would advocate first taking it to 345 and then taking it to 355 and then taking it 365 and then finishing at 370 and making it a multi-step process. Unfortunately, that could be sort of cost prohibitive for what was his name? Craig?
Yeah, it was Craig. Yeah.
Craig, yeah. Could be a little cost prohibitive for Craig to do that. Why not just play them the way they're built? I guess that gets back to custom club fitting.
Right. It's the joy of having them. And
yeah, I mean...
it's not a performance-enhancing club, right?
And Craig, if it came with the aluminum shaft that's got a little bit of a hump there, 4 or 5 inches from the top of the hosel, that's kind of rare. The set we have here is a set with those aluminum shafts. It also has the original Hague Ultra grip, which has a silhouette of Hagen on the butt cap, which it almost, to me, it looks sort of like the old Alfred Hitchcock silhouette, which I think is really cool. So if they've got those grips, Craig, don't do anything to them. Just leave them be and play them. They're not really all that practical.
Build a shelf and put them on display.
Yeah, could be. If they're in good shape, definitely. But if they've got the original ferrules on them and they've got the original grips on them, I wouldn't do anything to those golf clubs. I would save them for a tournament where they're playing. There's a lot of tournaments going around now where guys are playing old golf clubs, quote unquote old golf clubs. Persimmon Woods and old blades pre-1980, pre-1970. I'm all for that. They find the softest balls they can and go out there and see if they can turn it on with the old stuff. But modern golf courses aren't really all that suited for those type of golf clubs because the leading edges are very sharp and the soles are very small. Modern golf courses are much softer than the older golf courses were. So it's one of those things you're probably gonna lay some sod with those. They're gonna want to dig. But if you're picker of the golf ball, it could be pretty good.
Cool.
Hope that answered the question there.
I hope so too. Let us know, Craig. Your apprenticeship and your development as a custom club maker has taken you all over the country, and you've got a great history here. Share a little bit of how you got to where you are today.
Well, the first way...
And your passion for the history of golf clubs, not necessarily of the game itself, but of clubs.
I got to where I am today through the extreme generosity of people that I've met along the way and their sharing of their knowledge of golf clubs.
Go ahead and name drop. It's okay.
Don Wood. What's up, Don? Big influence in my career thus far. He's a club designer. Worked for some pretty big companies, and at one point had his own company. He had over 22 patents for golf clubs and fitting systems. And Don believes, as I believe, that custom fitting of golf equipment is the final frontier for golf. The clubs are they're as good as they're going to get, and the USGA has determined exactly how good that can be. So what's left is optimization. So in meeting guys like Don, I'll drop another name here, Terry Arbaugh. He was a guy that worked on the Bridgestone Science Fan. Really great guys. They were happy to share the information, and I was happy to keep asking questions. As you know, I used to say, "Am I bothering you with all these questions?" And they say, "No, it shows that you're interested." And so from there, sort of matriculated into what is known as the Cleveland Tech Van program. Went to Cleveland and traveled the country doing custom club fitting and building of Cleveland golf equipment, and got to see some phenomenal golf courses and meet some just incredible people along the way who also knew a lot about golf equipment. And we would sit down and talk. And you know, I would ask them questions, they would ask me questions, and we would all try to find the common ground. It's interesting. There's a lot of people out there who know a lot about golf clubs. It's pretty amazing when you start. I refer to it as the rabbit hole from Alice in Wonderland, because once you start diving down the rabbit hole, you never know how far it's going to go. But if you dig the journey, then you're sure to enjoy it.
And you dig the journey.
I love it. I absolutely love it, man. It's
Take a walk with me over here in your shop,
sure.
And I want to step over here to this map that you have on the wall.
Oh, yeah, my map.
Yeah, and explain to me what it is and the significance of what you've learned from this map of the United States. You've got different push pins and different colored push pins all over the United States.
Yeah, the gold ones, we'll start with the gold ones. They represent airports I flew into and out of in my travels with Cleveland and Hot Stix. I'm from the Bay Area originally, and would fly to a destination and hook up with my partners in the van programs, and we would take the vans and start driving around doing demo days and custom club fitting and building the clubs. So we would obviously, you see there's a lot of pins in Florida.
So when you refer to the Bay Area, you're talking about the San Francisco
Bay Area, not the Chesapeake Bay Area.
Bay Area in Florida.
We would. I started here, and we would go, and we'd be in a city for a week at a time. And the red pins there represent the cities where I've worked fitting and building golf clubs.
Wow.
And the green pins represent we didn't always get to play wherever we worked. So the green pins represent where we were able to play golf. Played some pretty amazing golf courses out there. It's just phenomenal. And all the people you meet along the way. There'd be days when you'd be exposed to hundreds of people. There'd be days when you'd be exposed to a dozen. But you'd meet teachers, you'd meet club fitters and builders, you meet golfers, you meet golf professionals at any given level. And you just try to take the time to enjoy their company and learn as much as you can along the way.
What intrigues me about the clusters of pins that you have, in some states it's just one small area, but in places like California, Florida, of course, Michigan, I think, interesting, Ohio, they're spread out throughout the state.
Yeah, we did a lot of traveling. We would go from city to city, and we were working for when I was with Cleveland, we were working for the regional sales reps. So somebody would have a large territory, somebody have a small territory.
For golfers in playing golf, are there differences of playing golf in California versus playing in Michigan versus obviously seasonal versus Florida?
I mean, most definitely. We would refer to it as regional ball flight, and a way to approach.
I don't think people get this.
Regional ball flight?
Yeah.
Well, if you're in the prairie there in the Midwest and the winds are blowing, odds are you're going to hit a little bit lower ball than somebody who lives in a place where wind doesn't blow. If you're at golf courses that are notoriously difficult, a lot of elevation changes, it's going to affect the way you kind of come up and how you play. It was very interesting. One day we were in where were we? We were in I think we were in Dayton, Ohio, and there were a lot of guys who hit the ball very low with a ton of spin. And it was just hysterical to watch these guys step up to the launch monitor, and it's different guys, but almost all of their numbers were the same. They were launching the ball about 8 degrees with about 3,500 revs of spin, just to try to, their idea was keep it down, get it down. So we actually developed sort of a driver for a lot of these guys that was kind of a higher lofted, heavyweight shaft, high kick point type of product to try to get the ball up a little bit, because you're going to get more distance from good launch, but try to keep that spin down. So we would use heavy high kick point shafts with kind of higher lofted heads, and came up with a name for this thing. My friend, I'll drop another name here, J. Ross Simeon from North Carolina. We came up with this name called the Widowmaker. And there's just a funny thing to call a golf club. And when you're driving in a truck from Orlando to Minneapolis, you tend to talk about a lot of things. So
I don't know if I want to know where you came up with Widowmaker.
I think we just thought it sounded cool.
Oh, okay. It's not like,
I wish there was something a little bit more to it,
yeah,
Fred.
it's
But
like once he plays with this club, he's never coming home. It's never.
it's an interesting thing.
Well, let's take these three corners of the country: California, Michigan, and Florida. What do you observe as being the major differences in? I don't know. Am I asking golfers or golf courses?
Well, people.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. You take you meet some interesting people along the way, and everywhere you go, it's a little bit different. I guess it's akin to traveling anywhere in the world. You're going to find regional flavors, if you will, and everybody's got a different way of doing things, different way of living. I'm not sure if that really answered the question, but
I want to move to another question that we got from the listener. It says,
okay.
Which I think we've been talking about this, but he says, "What do you mean by custom clubs? I used to have a set of irons 15 years ago that a friend of mine made. We measured my club head speed with a 5-iron, looked in the catalog for the appropriate shaft, then picked a head and grip. My friend put the clubs together with the same swing weight. It cost me about $150 or so for a complete set of irons, 8 different irons. And, of course, my friend didn't charge me for labor."
It's a good friend.
A very good friend.
Yeah.
But, I mean, here he saved a tremendous amount of money. And is that the kind of thing that people should be looking for? I mean, obviously labor is going to kick up the price, but can you answer his question? This comes from Joe Dolan.
Still not certain as
custom clubs, I think, is what he wants to talk about versus what it is to have a set of pings or a set of TaylorMade or a set of Callaways.
Oh, anything can come custom. The whole idea behind custom is getting a golf club that is going to work better for the way that you move it, not just for how tall you are or what your wrist to floor measurement is or what your club head speed is. You look at what are the ball flight tendencies. Does someone hit the ball excessively high? Do they hit it excessively low? Do they tend to err on the fade or hook side of the spectrum? And are there golf clubs out there that will help to correct those tendencies? And the answer, of course, is yes. All golf clubs are not equal, and it's sort of silly to think that one golf club is going to work as well as the next I'm sure your Hague Ultra guy can confirm that they're probably a little tougher to hit than whatever's in his game bag. So in customization, what we're trying to do is achieve conditions where you are getting the most you can out of that golf club. And what I mean by custom golf clubs is they are built specifically for that player, and they will probably not work as well for someone else depending on their launch conditions. Custom for golf clubs is the same as custom for a suit, is the same as custom for a tennis racket. It's finding a tool that is going to work better for you and your specific situation. Everybody's situation is a little bit differently. I'm sure a lot of your golfers out there that have played golf with lots of people see that everybody gets it done a little bit differently. And is there a better way? Is there a worse way? Well, there's just different ways. And that's, I think, the greatest thing about the game of golf is that you can approach it differently and achieve the same results, which, of course, hopefully would be a low score. So it's interesting, but some people tend to trap the ball or come down on it a little bit more aggressively than people who tend to pick it or sort of come down on it less aggressively. The goal when I'm doing a custom club fitting, the goal first and foremost is, can I get this person to hit it in the center of the face? And what happens then? The last thing I want to do is try to build a set of golf clubs that's going to allow somebody to continue to hit it off the center of the face and get acceptable results. I'm trying to get somebody to hit it in the center of the face first, and from that point we can really start dialing it down. I've always felt that if you're not able to hit it in the center of the face, you are at a distinct disadvantage to somebody who can.
I want to ask you about that a little more, and can we ask you more questions from listeners?
Oh, for sure. I love. Can I use this point to throw out the throw down the gauntlet, so to speak, to your listeners?
Go.
If you have a question about your golf clubs, you can email me that question, and I will answer every question I get.
Okay, so why don't we do it this way? If they go to golfsmarter.com and click on the Hey Fred button,
yep.
Send it to me, and I will make sure that Dan gets the question.
That sounds great. I'll answer it as promptly as I can.
Okay.
Because I love answering questions. Get back to what I was talking about earlier about being a custom club fitter. I feel like what custom club fitters do first and foremost is we rule out options. We say, okay, well, this person does this. Okay, so all of these things over here, all of these things over here, these are not applicable to this person's situation. So you can kind of dial it down to a range of clubs and shafts at lengths and lies or flexes that are going to be more appropriate, and you kind of focus on that. You certainly don't want to be handing a guy 10 completely different golf clubs if what he needs is just to be handed two. I mean, there's a point where you've got to be able to say, well, okay, this person, this is what they do, this is what they're trying to do, and a lot of that comes from the conversation and dialogue that I have with the player. Is what are you trying to do? What's happening out there when you're hitting golf balls? And making sure that we're not going to waste somebody's golf swings on golf clubs that aren't right before he even touches them.